Welcome to News Cafe. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. We are celebrating a Seaside Symphony Christmas in San Antonio, Zambales. This is Casa San Miguel. The 15-hectare ancestral farmland and seaside estate of the Coke Bolipata clan that has, since 1921, been home to generations and generations of artistic prominence. World-renowned concert violinist Coke Bolipata lives here, and for almost 2 decades, he has been making dreams come true for many underprivileged children in the area and other communities, providing scholarships for music and the arts. At this special time of the year, we pay tribute to the enlightenment, empowerment, and excellence that Casa San Miguel has nurtured. Tonight, we celebrate the inspiring stories, hopes, and dreams born out of this magical place with our guests, concert violinist Alfonso Coke Bolipata and Casa San Miguel scholars. And yes, there will be music. Great to have you on the show, Coke. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mitzi.
Wonderful to be here. The best place, I think, to celebrate the end of the year.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, let's talk about this place. So you come from a family of musicians.
And artists as well.
Yes, musicians and artists. Tell us about this land and the family.
Well, this property was planted by my grandfather around 1914. We kind of share similar paths because he went to school in Boston and then somehow had this dream of putting up a place like this. He came home and planted all these trees, but unfortunately he died right after the war. They couldn't come home during World War II, and then shortly after that he passed away. So in a way, I think we're trying to continue that legacy for him and also for the family.
Right, a lot of inspiration comes out of here. Your grandfather, Ramon Corpus, was a violinist. So you grew up with violins. What was it like for you?
Actually, we never met.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather, Lolo Ramon, died in 1954. I was born 10 years later. Yeah, but we come from a family of artists. Part of that clan includes Anita Magsaysay Ho, who was his niece. That's why we named the gallery after her. So
do you remember, were you exposed to music a lot, the arts?
Actually, was it through my mother, because my mother was a big fan. She had this thing about my grandfather. Idol, worship talaga niya ang dad niya. So as growing up, we were always listening to records, going to concerts. And that time, there were only 3 channels on TV. I mean, it was quite, we were always reading and listening to records or going to concerts. Yeah. So our exposure at a very young age was quite immense compared to my classmates at school.
Yes, that's right. Now here in the San, you grew up coming here for the summers. What was it like spending your time
Well,
here?
I think for a child, summers are really unforgettable, and it's the moment you don't want to see end. I remember crying whenever we had to go home. The summers here were quite mystical because the place was much darker 30 or 40 years ago. We had very dim lights. It was an old house. The old house that my grandfather built was kind of in semi-disrepair. So, it was the summer of ghost stories, going to the beach, and of course playing music. Yes. Yeah. And mangoes.
Of course, mangoes of Zambales.
Yes. Eating non-stop until our stomachs hurt.
That's right. And of course, you always talk about how the violin kind of speaks of your life, no?
Yes.
You started the violin at 8 years old.
At 8 years old, which is quite late actually compared to how early they start these days. Yeah.
Yeah, some of your students here are 3 years old, 4 years old.
Our youngest,
no?
we started was 3 years old.
Yeah. So you studied under Maestro Oscar
Yatco, yes.
How did you get into that? What finally drew you to
actually,
that?
Oscar Yatco was similar. At the time, there was a brain drain in terms of culture, and Oscar was Mr. Yatco was in Germany, and he decided to come home 1 year. And he found himself a post at the University of Santo Tomas, and the dean at the time, Stella Goldenberg Brimo, had my brother as a pupil. And my brother was really an amazing, I have to say, my pianist brother, who just left for New York a few days ago, was quite an amazing little prodigy. So when they were looking for scholars to subsidize, Mrs. Brimo said, why not the 2 brothers, and very random, one on cello and one on violin. So from that day, our fates were sealed.
Ah, okay. Not long after that, at 12, you won the first prize for the National Music Competitions for Young Artists.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's what brought you to Juilliard.
Yes.
At 12 years old, you had to leave. What was that experience like? Because you called it quite tragic.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Why?
Yes.
Why was it difficult? Because this is a time
Literally.
when you leave everything for music.
Yes.
No?
Actually, yeah. I mean, in retrospect, and I look, I work with a lot of kids, and I see them, and I see where their parents want them to go, and I see where they should go. And I mean, 12 years old in New York City, imagine, just
Scary.
the first day I was there, my neck looking up at the skyscrapers. It was really, I mean, I have to say now, I wasn't prepared for it. Not naman tragic, but
Did you feel you were forced into it? Your parents did force you?
actually I looked forward to it. I
Okay.
mean, you can imagine, Philippines dictator in the 70s.
Yeah.
I kind of was looking forward to it, but I wasn't quite prepared for
Culture shock.
what was
huh?
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was quite, it was overwhelming. I was a kind of kid. I was 12. I was roaming the streets of New York, till 4 in the morning. Really not doing anything, but just really walking the streets of New York,
Yeah.
just in shock.
So you weren't quite ready to be away from the family at that
Yeah,
time.
or the
huh?
demands of Juilliard, because
Yes,
all
what
of my
was that like?
classmates were, the ethos then was practice 12 hours a day. It was very competitive.
So at the time when finally you're with people like yourself, but it
Yeah.
was competitive.
Very
and-
competitive, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't change things, otherwise. I think I learned a lot from the experience.
How would you compare that kind of environment? Because at that time, one had to really go abroad to study well for music. Now we have that here. Do you feel that we provide?
No. Unfortunately, we still don't have the infrastructure for really good musical education. No, we don't. You still have to go abroad to get the best. It's not so much the schools, even it's the whole environment. I mean, to be kids with kids who are like you is different.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference, I think.
Yeah, that does help. Your being with peers,
Yes,
to really
in your peer
influence
group.
you.
Yeah.
Now, it was that time in New York where your parents bought you your first violin. Tell us about that.
Yes.
That's your baby.
Actually, we were scholars of Mrs. Marcos. So, well, in different capacities. So, my brothers, the pianist Jed, was already a full scholar at Juilliard and also of Mrs. Marcos. My brother Ramon, who's here somewhere walking around, was at Curtis also, a scholar of Mrs. Marcos. So, mine was Mrs. Marcos covered part of my expenses, and my parents covered part of my expenses. And Juilliard gave me a scholarship as well.
Right. So this 100-year-old violin.
Yes.
How did you
yes.
find that?
Well, I'm not married, no, but finding a violin, an instrument, is much like finding your soulmate. So actually, the process of finding a violin is you go to a shop, and they give you 10 or 15 instruments to look at, and you narrow it down to 4 or 3, and then they give you a couple of months to really try each one out until you find the
Only
one.
marriage could be that way too. It should be that way.
Yeah, but there's no divorce. But you can always sell your instrument, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, finding my instrument was
Yeah.
was a milestone in my life.
And you still have it till today.
I still have
It's
it
still
till
in good
today. It was a gift
condition.
from my father.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so-
a good, I guess, milestone to have from
Yes.
that time in New York. Now, in 1990, you received a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts in Washington and Artists
Right.
affiliates. This is when you had to bring culture. You were teaching around rural
Actually,
America.
that was the impetus for this. That plus my family coming into this property as its sole ownership, because this was conjoined with my cousins. In 1988, this came to the Bolipata family, and then I served this residency, which I started to think to myself, if I was here in Kansas, I was in the middle of cornfields, typical
Farmland,
Wizard of Oz scenario.
Yes.
And after a year, I told myself, if I was going to be doing this here, why not na lang in my own country? So from 1991 to about 1993, I was coming home a lot to play concerts. The idea started to brew, and I brought it up to my family. They said, sure. It was an old house where the garden is, which was built by my grandfather. It was kind of an eccentric, big house, which had a huge, kind of like a ballroom, but it had no bedrooms.
Perfect space for
Yeah,
music.
so we wanted to rebuild that kind of idea of an art center, but for the community.
And at the time, in 1993, this is when Mount Pinatubo erupted.
Right,
This place was
right.
devastated. So you wanted
yes,
to bring...
this farm. Actually, when this happened, my mom, I was in Vermont, and I was at a music festival. My mom called me, and she was near tears, or actually in tears, and she said, Iho, the farm, forget it, it's all gone. That was 1991. But I came back that December, it was in full bloom.
Yeah. So that was also your aim. You wanted to bring arts and culture to a dispirited area.
Yeah,
right?
which was actually the greatest challenge.
Yeah, because people were looking for livelihoods.
Exactly.
Yeah, how was
Wow,
it at the
you
time?
really did your reading, huh?
It's good
Yes,
to
actually, when people put up NGOs, it was mostly to put up sari-sari stores, piggery farms. The government wanted to really put up livelihood for the local community. So the idea of an art center was just like, bakit? Ano yan? Yeah, and it was took us many years to actually recover from that.
Yeah.
So we had concerts here. We had artists from Norway. We had artists from about 20 countries coming here, and no one would come. So we would go out to the gate, and we would just bring
Wow.
people in. Yeah.
And this is how the Pundak Festival
This is how it
started
all
also.
began.
Imagine back then, and now you're in your 22nd
Yeah.
season.
22nd season.
And how wonderful that you have really brought, into a reality the dreams of the fisher folk, the
Yes,
farmers.
yes.
Did you think that that would happen? You would bring in these kids from the communities?
No, well, it's a chaotic dream, but somehow I always felt. Actually, one of my experiences in the Midwest in America was playing like really high art stuff. We would play Beethoven, we would play Haydn, and the organizers knew, and people would come up after the concert and say, "Wow, we don't know what you played, but suddenly we felt all these emotions that we didn't know existed." So I always knew that art was somehow existed beyond boundaries. And that was the belief that kept me going, that sige, we'll do this, they won't come, but work with the children. Eventually, all these theories will fall into place.
Right, and
They
now
start
all these
working,
scholars. How many scholars do you have today?
We have about 100. At peak season, we have about 120.
Are any of them, well, I know you can't have favorites, but who among them really stands out? Who would you say?
Well, they all have their special traits. Of course, you've talked to Julian, and Julian is probably one of the most highly exposed because of the movie, and his biography is quite well known now.
Right.
Well, we have kids like Julian, and we have other kids just like him, who are similarly talented. There are many.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's how do you feel about the numbers? I mean, it's grown so much since it first started.
Yeah.
How have the programs? What is it that you really try to impart to your scholars over the years?
Ako, that's the difficult thing. Well, just like my experience in New York, we try to we empower them with this kind of talent, but it's hard really to say that do this and you'll make money, and because right now the industry is quite down. And musicians are still hotel musicians, they play in ships. It's not really a glorious job. So I think what we try to instill in them is the empowerment that they can be creative. I mean, playing an instrument has its benefits by just, you can play at home, you can play for your family, you can play in church. But as a career, it's not really something that we push.
Yeah.
But naturally, when the parents see their kids performing on stage, there's still that dream, baka pwede yan
Yes.
pumunta sa Juilliard.
Yes.
So
always
we
a
try to
dream.
balance
Right.
expectations.
All right, we'll talk more about the scholars. We just need to take a quick break. When we return, we'll talk more about mentorship with Coke. News Cafe will be right back. Welcome back to News Cafe, and we are still here in Casa San Miguel talking to Coke Bolipata. All right, Coke, more on the scholars. Now,
Yes.
how does one get into the scholarship program? What is it that you're looking for?
Well, we're looking first and foremost for loyalty. So we always give scholarships to those who have at least showed a year or two of always being here. And we administer a talent test. People might say, "Nako, I'm discriminatory." The talent test is actually general. No, it's not really about violence. It's just a predisposition, the way they think, the way they move. It's a holistic approach to seeing whether a child will survive the program.
Right. And now it's not just music that you offer here. It's really all
No,
kinds
yeah.
of
Well,
arts.
music. We're known for the music because I don't know.
'Cause
People
of
love
you,
music.
You
yeah.
are the heart of Casa
Yeah,
San
but
Miguel.
we've had visual arts, we've had theater, we've had
Photography.
dance, we've had photography, sculpture. Our kids have gone on to many disciplines from Casa San Miguel.
Yes, and-
Architecture included.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. And what's great is that you encourage this thing called playing it forward. You make sure that your
Yeah.
scholars
Oh my
teach,
God,
right?
yes.
I like that term you coined, playing
Yeah,
it forward.
yeah. Actually, it was a concert that we had with Cecilicad. We called it Play It
Ah.
Forward. And it's built into the program. And it's one of our ways of sustaining the educational program.
So how does that work? How
So
does it-
I teach 6 apprentices of mine. They each teach 6, and then those 6 also teach another 3.
okay.
So we're able to maintain a school of about 60 to 70 kids every year with virtually no money.
Wow. And
Yeah.
what you have here, when they are here, you provide some instruments, but you do encourage them to buy their own,
Yes.
right?
No, sila, you know, a kid when they find that they have the talent, they write their grandmothers, their grandfathers in London, in America. Eventually, they will find really nice instruments. Nagugulat nga ako na they could afford it pala.
Wow, yeah,
Oh,
because it isn't cheap, and it's nice seeing them. Well, many of them are also children of OFWs,
Yes,
so some of them
yes.
can
Well,
afford.
fishermen yung grandfather, but sometimes they have parents who work in the service industry abroad.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you also have this group, the Pundak Virtuosi. How did that come
Yeah.
about?
Virtuosi is just a natural thing. It's the best of the cream of the crop of Casa San Miguel.
So this is a group that they keep changing as they grow.
Yeah, we have I think 7 generations. So every year they get younger and younger. Parang Vienna Boys Choir. And then every summer we get together for our annual 7 Last Words of Christ. So
Right.
it's during Holy Week that I see the old from batch 1, 1996, and then up to today's batch. We all play together to do 7 Last Words of Christ.
And basically everybody, so many of them are now studying also in Manila.
Yeah, they're
or
all over
other
the place,
places,
yeah. We
But
have
they come
kids.
back to teach.
They come back. Not all of them come back to teach, but for the summer concert, a lot of them do try to make sure that they're here for our reunion.
Yeah. Now, before I forget, I want to ask you about Bosses, the movie. Your first starring role. How
First
is
and
that
only.
like? Who knows? There might be more. Now, really on
Actually,
Coke Bolipata's
they're
life.
talking about a sequel.
It was such a beautiful movie. What
Oh,
was that
thank
like? You
you.
had no acting experience at the time. Were
I
you?
still don't.
You helped write the film, right? You
I have no some of the dialogue. A lot
Yes.
of it was because it was from the point of view of a teacher, what a teacher would say. A lot of it was ad lib. You know, I mean there was a structure about the character, but a lot of the details that we said were actually made up
Yes.
on cam. Yeah.
Well, I guess what made it easier, you're working with 8-year-old Julian Duque at the
which is
time, and you had a
amazing in the
you mentored
movie.
him.
Yeah,
So-
and Julian was, he was really
Wonderful.
amazing in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you do it again? I want to do another movie.
I always say no, but you never know. I said yes the first time, right?
There might be the part 2. Now, of course, you've been very busy. You also co-founded the Manila Chamber Orchestra.
Yeah.
And because
Actually,
of that-
I founded the Metro Manila Community Orchestra.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
But
That's then also in Subic, no? Was it
no,
was
no,
one
no.
in Subic?
The one
What's
in Subic was called Subic by the Bay.
there.
Orchestra
sorry.
by the Bay.
Orchestra
Symphony by the Bay.
Symphony by yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But as obviously, my thing was always making culture or art or music available to the community. So I put up an orchestra in Subic with Chairman Payumo then.
Ah.
It was composed of firemen, accountants, policemen
Oh,
who
nice.
either played an instrument or sang.
Yeah.
So during his term at Subic, we had an orchestra actually based here.
Yeah.
They would come here and we would perform here and in Subic.
Yeah.
Metro Manila Community Orchestra was put up by me with Dr. Likuanan of Miriam College.
Oh, okay, because you used to teach there.
Yes, I was the director
You're
of the
also
music center.
Right.
And the school was so generous in providing our subsidy. So we were in Miriam for about 10 to 12 years. But recently they changed the name and we lost our residency. So I'm no longer a part of
But
that
you're also doing
organization.
work with Ayala Foundation,
Yes,
with the
yes.
Centers
This
for
is what
Excellence.
this one is very exciting because it follows the pattern of Casa San Miguel more truly, and the kids are just wonderful. I mean, this
Yeah.
is an amazing. We had
These
no
are kids
idea.
from Tondo.
These are the kids from Tondo, the children of mga stevedores. I mean, they're really underprivileged. I would say even more than the kids here.
Yeah.
But it's not so much. Well, it's as much the kids as it is the Ayala Foundation, Centex. The faculty, the way they're trained. The school is just very, very ripe for this kind of program.
Right.
So I tell the parents here, nako, in Tondo, they're doing it much better than us. So they become a benchmark for us to pattern ourselves after.
Really? And you're
Yeah.
trying to, you have this 10-year program where you're trying to set up similar schools, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, my
Around
gosh.
Manila? Exciting.
You're reminding me of the work that I have to do.
The year's ending, but we've got a lot of work ahead. for the
That's all
future.
been still in the realm of rhetoric. So,
Yes.
but yeah, we dream of putting up schools all over Metro Manila
Right.
as a way also of sustaining our programs because it's not cheap.
Yes, it is. That's true. That's a
running
big
the
challenge,
program,
isn't it?
yeah.
So how do you do it? Well, as much as you have little livelihood projects going on, you get corporate sponsorships.
Yes, can I mention sponsors?
sure.
Well, our parent, I mean, we would not be here today without Starbucks Philippines as well as Starbucks Seattle Foundation that gives us annual. They've been with us for more than 10 years. And of course, we have our partners, Ayala Foundation, we have Lyric, pianos.
You always perform, yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
so whenever we need pianos, or like in Tondo, when the kids need a piano for the recital, lyric is always there behind us.
Right,
Yeah, and Anita Magsaysay Ho Foundation, through my cousin
Yes.
Doris Ho,
yes.
is where they help us put up the building,
Yeah.
and also the programs. They pay for the teachers.
Well, that's very important because not only the scholars benefit from this weekend too, you have these art residency programs. Anybody can
Yes.
come and take a weekend. Is
Yes.
that right? So
Actually, that's not very well known, no, but our residents have done quite well for themselves. Like people like Elmer Borlongan came from the residency
yes,
program.
he teaches here, doesn't he? Now
He no,
with
no,
visual-
he's too busy. He's too famous. But he was
Before.
the teacher for the kids when we
Yeah.
started. Leroy New came from here.
Ah,
Don Salubaiba came from here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
so we have
Great
quite
people.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna come. I better study here. Come back soon. You also have a bed and breakfast. I
Yes.
love the casitas here. So come here to be inspired.
Right, right.
And of course the Backstage Cafe and your
Yes,
latest
yeah.
edition, Julian's
Dream
Bakery,
Cafe.
Dream Cafe.
Yeah.
How did that come up?
Julian's Dream Cafe. Well, Julian, the name is from a local folk tale. No, it's funny because the word Julian or the name Julian really is kind of a leitmotif. No, we see like Julian, our actor, but Julian is really a folktale name about the boy, who was 15 years old and then met a mermaid and was taken away. Comes back. It turns out it was like Rip Van Winkle.
Yes.
Turns out it was 50 years that had already passed. We took him and thought about the dreams that he had while he was living in the sea. It's kind of the metaphor for every child that might have these dreams.
Yeah.
So we took that and used that as a name for the cafe.
And this is, after all, what this place is about. It's about dreams, isn't
yes,
it? Making
yes.
dreams
Making
come
dreams
true.
come true. Absolutely.
And another dream architectural wonder, I think, is your hall. It's the Ramon Corpus Concert
Yes,
Hall.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Small, but yeah.
With the, it's an architectural wonder. I love the bamboo and great acoustics
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Actually, it serves many purposes. The bamboo is both aesthetic, but it's also a sounding board. So the performer actually, all the little bamboos resonate the sound back to the audience.
Yes.
So there's no need for microphones, and you get a really nice, clear, authentic sound.
Very nice for intimate crowds, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
Now you're really busy. I wonder, what are some new projects that you're looking at?
New
Are you already
projects.
keeping some future Coke Bolipata?
I know I have them. I just can't
Sightings.
remember them. No, well, we want to expand. The bed and breakfast is really all of our the enterprise. We actually call ourselves now a social enterprise. Everything that we're trying to do in terms of business is to make money for the scholarship program.
Yes, right.
So we want to expand this somehow, add more room, and making our candies. Our candies have gone viral because of we served the polvoron for Malacanang during the state dinner of Barack Obama.
Delicious.
Yeah.
It's a very different kind of
Yes,
polvoron.
it's very special. It was actually Gaita Forrest who was here, and she said, "My God, we have to have this for the dinner." So since then, there have been talks about expanding it, making it a community project, and we have some Koreans who came talking about making baskets by
Yeah.
the community. So
Yeah.
we have some livelihood projects and mango oil.
Yes. I
So
really
we're
love
going
what you're
into
doing.
a partnership with the OST, extracting oil, which is very good for
Skin.
lotions. It's the
Ah.
highest for
Well,
your.
you have a lot of mangoes in
Yeah.
Zambales. This is a mango orchard.
Yes. So, but we have to extract all the oil.
Yeah. Now, Cook, you've been all over the world. You've performed in some of the best places in every continent, I think. What is it that you still want to do? Because what do you think are the most challenging works that you've had? I read somewhere that this Bartok concerto.
Yeah, but I did it already.
You did that.
Yeah,
So
it
what
was
are
a
you challenging
dream that
yourself with?
I had, and then I got to do it with the Metro Manila Community Orchestra.
Yes.
About 6 years ago. My God, my dreams. I know I'm Julian's dream, no? I think the dream for me is to be able to leave a legacy where this thing can go on beyond my lifetime.
Yes.
I think still Philippines is still they'll do it because of the name. It's always celebrity. I get support because I'm here and I can talk to people, but trying to put up the fund and put up the structure so that it runs beyond my lifetime.
So that's what drives you to play it forward.
Yeah,
Is that it?
yeah. And I see more and more as I get old that really the program has such a tremendous benefit to the children. Even if they go into nursing or they do something else, they've told me, "Sir, if not for Casa San Miguel, we would be different people." So, no, it's an important part of who they are and what they do when they're young. So
Yes.
for me, that's a driving force.
And finally, this Christmas Day, as you look back on the year, what is it that you see maybe really has given you meaning? Whether it's just on this year or
I
in this life, in
that's
this wonderful life that you're
existential,
leading.
no?
Maybe in relation to the kids, or
Well,
what's meaningful for you during the Christmas season?
I think for me that the kids always have hope. Siguro that's the message, that never lose hope. Whether you're born to a poor family or the struggles, we all have our struggles. Whether you're rich or poor, we're all given this challenge to live with. And I think that they have hope, and that music brings hope to them is an important thing to realize and to know.
Well said, Coke. Thank you very much for
Thank
inspiring
you
us
very
this
much
Christmas.
for having us.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Coke Bolipata. Now, when we come back, we'll talk to some of Casa San Miguel's scholars. Stay tuned. Welcome back to News Cafe. I am now with 14-year-old violinist Julian Duque, who started here in Casa San Miguel as a scholar at 5 years old. Julian, welcome to News Cafe.
Hello, hello.
So, nauna kang pumasok dito 5 years old, no? Pero
Yes.
bago nun, ano yung pinakang first memory mo sa violin?
Yung hindi ko alam na hinawakan ko yung violin at tumugtog ako ng first 3 notes ng Twinkle Twinkle. Tapos, hindi ko alam na yung daddy ko pala, sinisilip ako sa window namin. So, nagulat na lang ako after a week. Dinala niya ako dito. Tapos, hindi ko alam, ba't ako nandito? So, biglang, Julian, ikaw na, turn mo na. Yun, nag-violin lessons ako. Tapos,
Kasi yung mga
hanggang sa ngayon
pinsan
na.
mo,
Opo.
alam mo na nagle-lesson sila.
Mhm.
So, na-pick up mo lang by listening.
Yes
by
po.
listening to them, oo. So, yung dad mo, classical guitar
Mhm.
player. So, nakikita mo siya nagtutugtog.
Actually, lahat nga ng mga tinutugtog niya noon, parang tinitenga ko, kabisado ko by ear.
Oo.
So, sa tingin ko, dun ko nakuha yung... Kasi, hanggang ngayon, hindi po ako masyadong nagbabasa ng notes. Pag tumutugtog ako, papakinggan ko. Tapos siya ako ipi-play.
Oo.
Widow, parang gano'n.
So sa pamilya mo, puro artist pala, no? Yung nanay mo, artist, visual arts, ganyan. So nakita mo ba nung lumalaki ka, parang inspired ka to be an artist?
Opo, kasi sa tingin ko, being artist, parang andyan naman sila, lahat sila pare-pareho. So,
Normal lang.
supportahan nila, opo.
So ano ba yung unang natugtog mong sa violin? Naalala mo ba yan?
Opo, yung number 1, pinaka-basic. Twinkle Twinkle, mga waltz, mga dance, mga ganyan. Bro.
Oo. Nung pumasok ka sa Casa San Miguel, naging mentor mo si Coke Bolipata. Kumusta siya as a teacher?
Nako, nakakatakot siya. Hindi, joke lang. Okay naman po, mabait. Parang pinaka-second na tatay ko na siya. Parang gano'n. Sobrang bait niya.
Oo. Ano ba yung mga natututo mo sa kanya? Siyempre, kailangan disiplinado ka, no, as a musician.
Sa lahat ng mga naging teacher ko, parang hindi siya yung pangkaraniwan na teacher, parang iba siya. Pag tuturuan ka niya, hindi yung parang okay, parang yung kailangan susundin ka niya, parang babayaan ka niya na makuha mo yung isang bagay na sa oras mo.
Oo.
So parang free. Basta kung tatawagin ka niya i-play mo, pa-play mo.
Na nung 5 years old ka, no, nandito ka na sa Casa San Miguel, siguro yung ibang kalaro mo, ibang ginagawa nila. Anong feeling mo nun? Kasi classical music for kids, medyo iba yun, kakaiba yun. Anong sinasabi ng mga kalaro mo, kaibigan mo?
Actually, mahihain ako nung bata ako eh. So nung nababalitaan ng mga pinsan ko, na nagba-violin ako, hindi ba boring yan? Classical, di ba? Mga ano pa yan eh. Panahon pa ng mga Mozart yung mga 1500s. So tumatawa na lang ako. Pero parang biyabaliwala ko na lang.
Oo. At saka dito naman, isang community, ang dami ng bagong...
Pare-pareho kami dito.
Oo. Anong mga favorite pieces mo ngayon?
Favorite ko na composer si Vivaldi. Favorite ko yung Four Seasons.
Ay, ang ganda, narinig ko yun. Ang ganda talaga, no? Feeling mo life talaga, no? Ngayon, isa kang member ng Pundak Virtuosi, ano? How is that as a group? Ano yung mga, yung disiplina na kailangan dyan? Practice hours nyo? What do you do as a part of the group?
Actually, hindi kami madalas tumutugtog eh. Pag kami mga special events, kunyari, Christmas, yan. Actually, wala kaming rules. So kung tugtugin mo yan, tugtugin mo, punta ka dito. Tapos magsama-sama tayo tugtugin natin. Kahit magkamali, basta masaya lang tayo. Tapos tutugtugan namin yung mga tao, kahit na hindi kami masaya, basta masaya yung audience.
Yun nga, masaya, no? Masaya lahat ninyo dito na scholars, excited kayo to go to school. Usually, mga bata ayaw pumasok. Anong klaseng environment dito kasi sa Casa San Miguel? Paano na-inspire talaga kayo?
Actually, hindi ko ma-explain dahil sa view pa lang ng kasi, parang siguro kung may creative writing lang dito, siguro kukunin ko rin yun. Dahil magsusulat ako, ang daming sa paligid ko. Siguro makakagawa ako ng mga 10 kanta.
Nagko-compose ka ba?
Kanta po, gumagawa
Kanta?
ako ng kanta.
Kanta, okay. So may ibang instruments ka rin inaaral?
Guitar po, classical guitar. Konti lang, konting-konti.
So nag-scholar ka noon sa De La Salle Zobel for grade 6 and then ngayon nasa Makiling ka.
Yes po.
Ano ngayon yung pagkakaiba? Kasi ngayon na getting older, ano yung ibang natututunan mo sa Makiling?
Actually, natututunan ko yung makihalubilo sa ibang tao. Yun, parang naging independent na ako. Konti.
Oh.
Ayun, at saka wala naman siya pinagkaiba dito sa casa dahil ano rin siya, art school din siya eh. Ang adjustment lang dahil sa mga estudyante, iba sila.
Oo. Now, balik tayo sa nung 8 years old ka, may movie ka, Boses. Okay, kumusta yun? Paano, yung Boses yun yung movie mo with Coke Bolipata. Ano yung experience yun? Kwento mo naman yung audition.
Kalimutan ko na.
Nakalimutan, tagal na, 8 years old.
Opo.
Tanda mo na.
Kwento ko na lang yung paano ako in-audition ni Direk Ellen.
Sige.
Alala ko, umiyak pa ako nun dahil ang sabi niya sa akin, kasi meron lalaki, ang sabi niya sa akin, hihingi ako ng pera sa kanya, pero ayaw niya. Kailangan mapapayag ko siya.
Mahiyaan ka pa naman,
Oo,
ano?
sobra po. Nagalit. Pag kami nagagalit, madali po akong matakot, so kakabahan ako. So, nung acting lang pala, nagagalit siya. So, mamaya umiyak na ako, tapos sabi ko, ayoko na. Hindi na ako nagpakita sa director. Hanggang sa, siguro ilang weeks, sabi, oy, pwede to, pwede. Kasi parang real yung pagkaano niya.
Oo.
So, yun, nakuha po ako.
At wala kang acting lessons noon, di ba?
Konti lang po,
nag-workshop
siguro mga
ka.
3 days lang.
Oo. Pero nakatrabaho mo rin si Coke na teacher mo. Paano yun ngayon? From Casa San Miguel, ngayon naman acting. Ano yung, kumusta yun? Yung acting together with your mentor?
Okay naman po, masaya dahil dati natatawa pa ako dahil sobrang seryoso siyang tao eh. So nung nakita ko siya, naku, may mga ganito palang scene sa boses. Parang hindi bagay pero siguro hindi lang ako sanay na makita siyang ganun. Pero asaya. Magaling
Oo.
din siya, sobra.
At nanalo ka sa 2009 ng Movie Child Performer of the Year Golden Screen Awards. Naalala mo pa ba yun?
Yes po.
So ano yung feeling nun? Imagine first time to act, nanalo ka pa ng award.
Siguro kung mga bata tatanungin na gano'n, una nila sasabihin masaya.
Oo.
Kasi ako actually hindi ko rin alam yung pakiramdam ko nun dahil umakyat ako sa stage, kinuha ko yung trophy, tapos yun lang, bumaba na ako ng stage.
Oo.
Tapos sabi ng daddy ko, hindi mo ba alam yung nakuha mo? Sabi ko, trophy. Sabi ko,
Yan, hindi talaga napupunta sa, hindi ka na, at least talagang grounded ka. So paano mong talagang, anong ginagawa mo to make sure na gumagaling ka? Anong mga tips mo to really be successful as a musician?
practice lang talaga. Patience yan. Lagi talaga. Kailangan yan.
Oo.
Hindi talaga makukuha isang bagay na sobrang bilis. Talagang kailangan talaga.
Tama yan. At grabe yung mga opportunities dito no, sa Casa San Miguel. Ano yung mga favorite activities mo? Or mga dito na, or kahit dito, or kasi papalik-balik ka from Zambales to Manila. Ano yung mga favorite na ginagawa mo as part of your
Actually,
music
nagtuturo po ako dito sa casa.
Kumusta yun? O, pagtuturo.
Masaya naman ako nagtuturo ko dahil nasi-share ko rin. Kasi unang-una parang gusto ko maagawa ako ng sariling grupo na ako yung nagko-conduct na sa gitna ako. Gusto ko mangyari yun. Oo.
Kasi as a scholar, kailangan magturo ka dito, di ba? Ang tawag dyan ni Coke, di ba? Playing it forward. So ilan oras week ka dapat nagtuturo ba?
Depende po sa students na dumadating po.
Oo.
Minsan 4 hours a day. Ganun.
So busy-busy ka, no? Wala ka ng oras para sa pamilya. Ngayon na Pasko, ano usually yung ginagawa nyo pag Pasko?
As usual, pupunta kami sa ganito, kakain, sasaya, may mga gifts. Yun.
Oo.
Mga pinsan darating. Yun.
At nagtatrabaho ka, minsan may concert ka, di ba?
Opo.
So naalala mo, ano yung pinakamasaya na memories mo for the holidays? Christmas, New Year?
Actually, hindi ko na matandaan pinakamasaya eh. Ang dami. Sobra.
Ang dami, no?
Siguro, sabihin natin yung pag nagpi-play ako ng violin, sobrang pag nagpi-play ako, hindi ko iniisip na tumutugtog ako. Iniisip ko, tumutugtog ko na mag-isa lang ako na hindi ko alam, hindi ko ma-explain. Sobrang sarap talaga pag tumutugtog.
Iba talaga no pag nagtutugtog ka, parang it's another language. Ngayon, apart from the classicals, nagtutugtog ka rin ng mga pop music. Paano mo pinipili yun at paano ka natututo sa mga pop, yung mga pop na ano?
Kasi yung group namin, yung Pundak Virtuosi, parang simula't mula nag-start kami, classical. Super solid talaga na classical. So, boring kami. Pag tumutugtog kami, practice. Minsan, ayoko na, gusto ko na umuwi. Ayoko na mag-violin, ang boring na ito. So, naisipan ng pinakamatandang nag-violin na sabihin, tugtog kaya tayo ng Coldplay, Viva la Vida. So, yun, sinubukan namin, pumatok naman. Gusto rin ng mga audience. Actually, nung una na nilibago sila. Di ba ano to, classical, sila, group. Tapos ngayon, pop na. Pero okay naman, pinaghahalo namin. Minsan nagtatranspose kami ng classical, bigla magiging pop.
Yeah, nakikita natin marami sa YouTube, di ba? Uso yan ngayon. Ano yung favorite mo? Meron ka ba na talagang gustong-gusto mo tugtog?
Gusto ko yung style ni David Garrett na yung Summer sa Four Seasons. Ginawa niyang solid rock talaga. Hindi mo marinig na classical siya.
Oo.
Pero yung piyesa, classical.
Kaya nagpapahaba ka rin ng buhok, di ba? Ala David Garrett. So sa tingin mo, ano kaya, 14 years old ka pa lang, may dreams, anong dream mo? Anong gusto mo maging, syempre violinist, pero anong nakikita mo sa future mo? Anong gusto mo mga...
Hindi ko pa alam eh. Sa ngayon, ito yung nasa harapan ko. So, yun muna. Diretso lang.
At sa mga bata dito nakikita mo, syempre dumami na kayo no, since the time you started. Anong nakikita mo dito? Kasi surrounded ka by other children interested in classical music. Sa tingin mo ba ang Pilipinas talagang nagiging parang mas exposed na tayo sa ganitong klaseng music?
Opo, kasi
Mga kabataan.
dumadami na eh. Actually, kwento sa akin ni Sir Coke, nung nag-start tong casa, halos wala talagang nag-violin sa buong San Antonio. Nung nag-start to, dumami at parang napunta na sa city, sumisikat, nagkakaroon na sa mga banda.
At nag-perform, speaking of sikat, nag-perform ka rin around the world. Saan ka na nakapunta para mag-perform?
Nag-perform kami 2009 sa China, and then Indonesia 2010.
Ano yung feeling nun? Siyempre, nakaka-travel ka rin and then standing ovations kayo parate. Anong nafe-feel mo pag nakakakita ka ng ibang bansa at yung mga tao talagang pinapalakpakan kayo ng ganun?
Sabi ko, parang, paano ba ako napunta dito? Sabi ko, siguro kung hindi ako nag-violin, nasaan kaya ako ngayon? Pero masaya ako sobra dahil nakapunta ako sa ibang lugar, nakapag-perform ako.
At baka aaral ka pa sa abroad, no? Iniimbita ka pa for scholarship in the US. Well, maraming salamat, Julian, at maraming salamat sa lahat ng ginagawa mo para sa Casa San Miguel. Thank you very much. do you feel about Casa San Miguel nung talagang many years ago walang ganito eh. So now as a musician, when you were a young musician, walang ganito. Ngayon ang daming opportunities for Julian.
Well, for Casa, when I heard about when I was in UP, second year college, my reaction was salamat. Yun ang naramdaman ko. Napakagandang ano yan, umpisa. Yan.
When you see him perform, syempre yung mga Pundak Virtuosi, syempre the movie at 8 years old sa boses, anong iniisip mo? Anong pakiramdam?
Masaya, starstruck kumbaga. And at times, mas nininervyos ang parents. Totoo nga pala yun. Mas masaya ang parents madalas, sabi nila eh. Totoo pala.
What would you say is one of the biggest lessons you teach him para talagang to make sure na to keep everything in perspective?
Well, just like he said, he has to have patience. And of course, practice. And never to forget prayer.
3 Ps.
Yes.
You're watching News Cafe, and we're in the beautiful grounds of Casa San Miguel. I'm with 2 scholars, Simon Tabon and Zildjian Faith Marcos, and they are playing Canon in D by Pachelbel. So mga ilan taon kayo? Ikaw, Zildjian?
11 po.
At Simon?
13 po.
Okay. Kwento mo naman, kailan kayo nag-umpisa dito? Ikaw muna, Zildjian. Paano ka nakapasok sa Casa San Miguel?
4.5 po ako nagsimula. Tapos po, bale po natutunan ko lang po kay lola ko. Una po ako natuto kay lola ko kasi po yung anak niya po, nagba-violin po dito. Kaya po naengganyo akong sumali dito sa casa.
Pero wala kang alam sa violin before that,
Wala
no?
po.
Okay. Ikaw naman, Simon?
Ako po, meron pong enrollment sa tabing dagat ata po nun. Tapos, sabi po ng mga kamag-anak namin, enroll po ako doon ni mama. Tapos, pumayag naman po ako. Tapos, ano po, tuloy-tuloy na po yun hanggang matuto pa ako.
Anong mga trabaho ng mga magulang niyo? Yung nung nag-start ka, ikaw muna, Simon.
Ako po, fisherman si papa, tapos si mama teacher din.
So hindi nila akalain na papasok at magva-violin ka, ano? Ikaw naman, Zildjian.
Si papa ko po, sumasali po sa Riders Club. Siya po yung leader. Tapos si mama ko po, wala pa po siyang trabaho na nag-start ako.
At mahilig sila sa music kasi ang pangalan mo, Zildjian. Alam mo nung Zildjian, ano?
Nagda-drum po kasi si mama ko, kaya pinangalan niya po sa akin yun.
So talagang surrounded ka by music, with music nung
Opo.
lumalaki ka. Ikaw, Simon, 'di ba? Hangang-hanga ka kay Julian Duque, ano? So
Opo.
nung pumasok ka dito, ano yung feel mo yung mga kasama, mga kaibigan, mga kabataan nyo? Ano yung na-feel mo nung pumasok ka dito?
Masaya po kasi first time nakatungtong sa casa.
Anong tingin nyo sa classical music? Nung bata kayo, nakikinig na ba kayo sa classical music or puro pop music lang kayo? Anong favorite mo, mga pop?
Tagalog po dati.
So nung narinig mo, wow, ano tong classical music, anong naisip mo?
Wala.
Hindi ka talaga interesado?
No choice.
No choice? Feeling mo no choice ka? At ngayon, parati kang pinapatugtog, di ba, pag family reunions? Anong nangyayari pag mga may umuuwi? Ikaw na bang entertainment?
Opo. Magre-request sila na mga modern na po. Request sila na tugtog ka ba lang all of me, sabi nila. Tapos papakinggan ko po yung tugtog and then play
Kaya
ko po.
mo na. Ngayon, Pasko, so nagpa-practice kayo, dami yung concerts, no? Pwede ba magpa-sample ng konting, sino mauna? Pwede ba sabay?
Siya na lang po mauna.
O ikaw na muna. Sige, kahit ano, magtugtog ka ng kahit ano. Merry Christmas! Ikaw naman, Simon. Jose Marichan at si Merry Christmas. So ano yung mga gusto nyo gawin? Paglaki nyo, anong iniisip nyo na baka maging, anong gustong maging trabaho? Zildjian.
Engineer for architect.
Wow! The musical engineer and architect. Ikaw naman, Simon?
Ano na lang po, chemical engineer.
Grabe, galing! Good! Talagang yan ang mga kailangan natin dito sa Pilipinas. Sa Pasko, anong mga gagawin nyo kasama ng pamilya mo? Ikaw muna, Zildjian.
Magbe-vacation po kami sa Taguig kasi po doon po nagtatrabaho yung mama ko.
So para sa'yo, talagang magsamahan, no, ang pamilya. Yan at maraming pagkain. Ganon.
Oo.
Ikaw naman, Simon, ano yung usually ginagawa nyo pag Pasko?
Ngayon taon po kasi walang gaanong uwi po na mga kamag-anak namin. Galing sa ibang lugar po. Balik tutulong na lang po ako sa magulang ko ngayon.
Okay, well, makikinig kami sa inyo mamaya. Salamat, salamat Zildjian, salamat Simon. And we will be bringing you more music from Casa San Miguel. What a wonderful way to spend Christmas, surrounded by nature, amidst a seaside symphony, reminding us that dreams do come true, hopes abound, and the future is bright thanks to guests like ours tonight in this world. Thanks to our guests tonight, Coke Bolipata and the Casa San Miguel Scholars for lighting up our show this 2014. Now from all of us at News Cafe, have a Merry Christmas. See you in 2015. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Good night. Merry